I have these friends, Dan and Sheila. They're podcast hosts.
Welcome to Profiling Criminal Minds. I'm Dan.
And I'm Dr. Redmond.
And we are back for another week of... I almost said Medium. This is so embarrassing. Profiler, which is a very different show from Medium. No, it's your fault for talking about Medium so much. That one's on you. I'm not going to take the fall this time. Usually it's my fault. I'm not going to pretend it's not. This time, no, that's on you. But more importantly, yes, we've been watching a little show called Profiler, and just a little apology. Last week, 10 was not the mid-season ender. We had already had the mid-season ender, and they didn't do anything special with it.
Yes.
Like the Big Jack episode was 6, and that was not the mid-season episode ender episode. That was episode 8. So yeah, we had already missed it, and as you can see, they didn't do anything special. So if that becomes a regular thing they do, although as we're seeing, they don't really have to do special Jack episodes, because he's pulling nonsense every single week.
Yep.
Like, he's just showing up and making a fuss, and, drawing attention to himself every week. It's kind of, again, I'm not going to say completely unprecedented. Other TV shows have done stuff like this, but it's, I think, more intense than we've seen.
Yes.
Like
the only problem is that you don't see them doing anything about finding Jack other than reacting to him. Like it is kind of weird, right? That like the second episode that we'll talk about, right? I'm just going, has nobody considered, like, I'm 20 minutes in and going, has nobody considered that Jack is doing this?
I know, right? It takes them away to, I mean, they don't even figure it out. He just tells them.
He tells them.
Tells them that he's doing it.
It's
not even a question of them, like, eventually figuring out what's going on. No, he just tells them. He gets bored with them not figuring out, and he lets them know.
Well, and the thing is that and then afterwards, because I watched this morning, there goes another ambulance.
I can't hear it. You don't have to call out the ambulances. We can't hear them on the recording.
Yes,
anyway,
I know.
Keep going.
Okay.
You watched the episode.
So I watched the episodes this morning.
Right.
And, all right. Yes. And so I afterwards thought, well, okay, maybe the internet was such a new thing that you could excuse them not pointing to Jack, and I'm trying to find an excuse for why they didn't figure out it was Jack, and Jack finally just had to, tell them.
Yeah, and he does.
And he does, right, at the end. But I'm just kind of going...
We'll talk about that more when we get to the second episode, because I agree with you that it's a problem.
It's a serious problem.
It is a serious problem with the episode. But the first episode is very interesting because they waited a whole half a season before doing a Hannibal Lecter type episode about somebody that Sam had caught, who now they have to go to for advice. It's it's a nice touch.
Yeah, okay.
I thought, it's a nice. They waited a little while. It's interesting because Criminal Minds did this in like episode 3. Like, they did not wait long at all before doing this episode then they did it again in Outfox, but that was like 5 seasons later. But yeah, episode 3, you got Gideon talking with the bomb maker, right? About the various, about the bomb maker who led him to quit the FBI. And the various bombs he had planted and the new mad bomber that was running around. Whereas here, we got a full half the season before we checked in with a killer from her past who's serving the Hannibal Lecter role.
Well, I think, though, to give Criminal Minds a pass on this, I would think that it was to set up Gideon.
That's true.
Very clearly, because this guy plays Jack is the important protagonist
guy. Yeah.
In
the word you're looking for, weirdly, is antagonist.
Yes. Okay. Antagonist. Okay.
Yeah. No, he is he is absolutely. And so you don't need Like, they're already establishing her via her relationship with Jack, so you don't need an episode like this. You can just put it in, slot it in wherever you want, because you don't need it to build up her character. And I think that's exactly the right way to look at it.
Yeah, and I think that, yes, that's just it. You just needed to set Gideon up because he had been reluctant to go back.
Yeah, and so we needed to feel the trauma of that.
Yes, and why. Mm-hmm. So that's okay.
No, it makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense why they would have done that. And then he's got this. What do I think about it? I mean, it was a reasonably. I don't know. I'm beginning to appreciate sometimes even the bad episodes of Criminal Minds. Like, there's something lacking, and I still think the problem is
I don't know why you're pretending this is a mystery. It's not a mystery. It's her. She's the problem.
She's the problem in this cast.
This is a show, and the thing is, Criminal Minds doesn't have a main character. It's an ensemble show. In fact, basically no television show today has a main character. Like, there's no such thing anymore as a show that has a main character. It used to be, I would say, 80 to 90% of TV shows had a main character. Sometimes there would be two main characters, but generally shows would have a main character. There would be ensemble shows, your Star Treks and a couple of lawyer shows. But as a general rule, you would be following a person's adventures.
Like Knight Rider.
In it, like
speaking.
MacGyver,
MacGyver,
which we keep talking about, right? We talk about MacGyver a lot because
the early one,
yeah, because it's useful. And
or Simon and Simon, the brothers, right?
You got the two main characters, and you got their mother and Tim Reed as supporting cast members.
Have we not forgotten Magnum?
We have not forgotten Magnum. Well, Magnum was always more of an ensemble, though. Like Rick and TC and John, Higgins always had a lot to do on the show. Magnum was really an ensemble show. Right? So that's not a great example. But, Simon and Simon is, because, there's two of them, but it's just the two of them. You're not going to see a lot of their mother every week. You're not going to see a lot of Tim Reed every week. Like, they're going to be used as needed. There would be whole episodes their mother, Tim Reed, isn't even in.
Yeah, right? And the same thing with Rockford.
Yeah, same thing with Rockford. It's just Rockford. Rocky's not there every week. Dennis is there almost every week.
Well, you need a cop.
But you need a cop to get involved. But there are weeks that Dennis just isn't in. And the fact is, like, the old saying, like, in the day, opening credits, all that really meant was you got paid for the episode whether you were in it or not, if you're in the opening credits.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas now, everybody in those opening credits is going to be in every episode. Because every show seems to be an ensemble show. Doesn't matter what the show is. Right? And that's just not true in this time period. But the problem is, if you're going to build a show around a character, oh my God, that character needs to be compelling. And the actor has to, captivate you. And she
be
just
able
doesn't.
To sell it. I do not know what is wrong.
I know.
Is it, I don't know.
Why?
What is wrong? Why somebody either put her in this show, whether she's being directed wrong, whether this is just she's somehow or another they think that she can make her own choices.
I don't know what's happening.
She's just not a good actress.
Who knows? No, but you're right, because let's not forget, Millennium is another show with a main character.
Yeah.
Frank is the main character. You're probably going to see his wife and Jordan every week in the first season, but it ain't guaranteed.
No.
It's not a guarantee you're going to see them in the first season, all first season. Then she leaves him in the second season, and, you're not going to see his new partner every week. It's not until the third season where they try to turn it into an ensemble show, and it kind of falls apart, and Clea Scott's there every week, and we're just... oh no, you've ruined what was a wonderful TV show. But it's like the first two seasons, you're going to see Frank, except for one episode, you're going to see Frank Black every single week, and he's going to be at the center of the show. And Peter Watts might not be there every week. His cop friends might not be there every week. This has a larger cast, but it is inarguably not an ensemble show. this is a show with a main character, and she is the main character. And as Millennium proves, if you got a compelling enough main character, it doesn't matter how bad the scripts are, we're going to keep watching.
Yes. You know? And that is exactly, it is, it is, and I don't understand it. Is
why
it the
she
direction?
Doesn't work. Yeah.
Why is it the showrunner? I mean, I don't think we're going to sit down and look at these things. I mean, Bernero had control over.
Yeah.
And I suspect he had control to a large extent in the beginning over the direction. He set the tone for how these episodes were to be directed.
Yeah. How the episodes feel.
How they feel. And I think there's no sense here. I think this episode, for example, is it's just weak.
Yeah.
Like when we talk about cotton candy, and I'm just going, well, yes, you've got this Hannibal, but he's not even particularly menacing.
No. Honestly, he's so passive that you're almost like, honestly, fine, just let him gas a few more bad dads. I don't care.
Yeah, you're sitting there going, okay, yeah, so he was in prison, so he lied and said I didn't do them. Well, no, he didn't. But then he managed to get out. I'm still not clear whether he got out by himself or whether he was kidnapped.
He wasn't kidnapped. They were partners. They think he was kidnapped, but they were actually partners.
Yeah, well, first they thought he escaped, then they thought he was kidnapped, and then it's sort of their partners.
They were partners, but then he turns on his partner.
Well, of course, he's Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah, of course he would. Yeah. Absolutely. But yes, it is a very convoluted episode. So let's actually go through the plot of this episode.
Oh, really?
I think we can. Well, yes, of course I can go through the plot. It's not a complicated episode.
Well, no, it's not. And the Jack.
We'll talk about the Jack stuff at the end, like we always
separately.
Do. Yeah, because it is, the Jack stuff is invariably completely separate from the rest of the episode.
Yep.
So we can always talk about the Jack stuff separately.
So I can complain again.
We'll get there. But anyway, my point is, so people have been gassed, right? They have been gassed with poison gas, chained up and had a gas thing put on them and killed. And this has been and this is the exact MO of a killer that Sam caught, right? Yes. And it was the first person she had ever shot, right? Yeah. It was the first and so she's been a little haunted by the guy ever since. And of course he claimed he was innocent, blah, 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 blah. The funny part is when you see No, you're right. He confessed. You're right. He didn't. No, that's the opposite. He confessed, right? And that's how he says, I didn't, you can believe me when you say I didn't do these. That's the innocent I was thinking of. Yes, you can believe me when I say the new one because I have never claimed to not be what I was, is what he says. Yes. It's kind of funny when we see the flashback to her shooting him. I know this is going to sound weird, but I don't know that it was a good shooting. I know, like, it's impossible for the FBI to have a bad shooting, like that the OPR exists only to clear them for no matter what they do. But, like, I don't know that this was a good shooting because we see her, like, he's next to his van, just in a field, and he's taking a canister of poison gas out of the van in a field, and she just shoots him from, like, 30 feet away. And it's like, I don't think he was threatening anybody. He sure as hell wasn't threatening you. It really did feel like a kind of situation where she was amped up, and she is later going to say, I thought that canister of gas was a gun. It's just so weird to see, like, her big dramatic first shooting. He was going
for the...
Yeah. He was going for a gun. Oh, no, it turns out he was just going for the canister of gas, which is of no threat to me because I'm 30 feet away and we're outdoors. Like, the gas can't possibly hurt you outdoors and 30 feet away.
Yes, well, it wouldn't be the first, you know.
I'm just saying, I feel like this maybe wasn't such a good shooting. Because I don't even know if he realized she was there when she said, hold it and aimed a gun at him. I think he may have been trying to raise his hands. I'm going to have to go back and check.
Well, let me put it this way. Considering she doesn't seem to know how to yell.
Oh, that's so mean. But 100% accurate. I'm not going to complain. Like, man, you're dead on.
She's got no personality.
it's a lack of range. It's a lack of range and depth as a character. I mean, we're still ticked off that, like, she failed to scare her daughter the other week. Right?
Yeah.
It's like, that's what this scene is about. And as we said, the daughter understands what the scene is about. The daughter is playing it right. You're the one screwing up here, Sam.
Yeah, because the lines are there.
The lines are there, and the daughter's performance is there.
Yeah, and you're going, okay, so not a good actress, I guess we're coming to the conclusion.
Yeah. Maybe she'll get better, but there's a flatness to her affect that really hurts the show. And you can say, well, didn't Lance Henriksen have a flat affect? No, he was like burdened by the horrors of the world.
Yes.
No, he doesn't have a lot of big external reactions, but he's burdened by the horrors of the world, and they write around that. I don't know how you write around what she's doing, because what she's doing is not reacting to things.
No, and when you compare it to what is the other show that was, the alternate reality? It ended up being 5 years, FBI.
Fringe.
With Anna
Torf. Anna Torf.
Yeah. Now, and I mean, that show had problems too.
Yeah.
But she managed to pull it off.
She did, absolutely.
As a character, she was the lead character. Here, I do not know who. And we're not looking it up. It's not worth the time looking it up.
We might do it. We might investigate this between seasons or something.
Yeah,
yeah.
Please. Because it just seems, and we've been looking at all of her. We did look at all of her past credits, and going, like she shows up every now and then in something, and.
But she's never been like the headliner of anything ever again or before. And we're like, maybe she shouldn't have been the headliner of this either. Yeah,
because this show might have had more legs.
If you had a stronger lead.
Yeah. And then, so that makes this episode, but even here, as you say, our Hannibal Lecter character is flat as well. Even the ending when the two of them get together.
Yeah, have their
Like
confrontation.
he gets kidnapped, they have a confrontation at the get because they figure out where to go to find out where he is.
Yeah.
And they have this confrontation, and then she tells him the story that
Julian McMahon had told her.
Julian McMahon had told her about his first shooting.
Yeah.
And Julian McMahon, now mind you, it's a key to tell Julian McMahon when to shoot.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. She's
to just execute this guy, and then I can just turn, because I mean, he doesn't really have the best plan. His plan is, I'm just going to turn on this valve, and if you shoot me when I fall, I'm holding onto the valve, so if you shoot me when I fall, it'll open the valve. And I'm like, yeah, that's true, but I haven't rigged it in such a way that it can't immediately be closed again.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's not like it's going to explode.
No, it's not going to blow up.
There's not enough gas.
Yeah. Well, no,
that would escape.
Well, no, because the gas is it's on a split valve, right?
Yeah.
2 tubes to kill the orderly and the orderly's father, right?
Yep.
But it's only open for half a second. As long as they don't inhale during that half second, they're fine.
Yeah.
You just have to not inhale for half a second. It's not like, as you say, he set it up to explode and fill the room with toxic gas.
Yeah, it's
not much of a threat.
No, and the confrontation isn't much of a confrontation.
No.
Because she's supposed to be making him angry with this story about Julian's story about his first shooting.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's like you don't feel like they have enough of a relationship, that it seems at the start like she's saying, you're not as important to me as you think you are because I had already shot somebody when I met you. Right? But then the story just turns out to be to, let Julian McMahon know that it's fine to shoot this guy. Yeah. And they haven't had the kind of relationship that where I buy that he would feel betrayed by that. Because they want to do the Hannibal Lecter thing and the Hannibal Lecter and Will Graham thing, but
I don't think it's the Will Graham. I think they want to do the Jodie Foster thing.
That book hadn't happened yet. The Hannibal sequel hadn't been written yet.
The Silence of the Lambs hadn't been written yet.
Hannibal, where he's obsessed with her, and like they're doing Will Graham because she's the one who caught him. That's the Will Graham relationship.
Well, yes, I know, but
no, because
it just strikes. No, okay, you can say that all you want.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that to me, it because they have him in the bars talking, and she's
that also happened with Will Graham.
I know. But somehow or another, I guess my comparison is Jodie Foster was so much better at it.
Yes,
and
she was.
And Will Graham was an entirely Will Graham was much better at it, but
as well.
I guess I was looking at female to female.
I think that is what you were doing.
Performance, and going, no, because and this whole business of it was how did he even know that it was her first shooting?
I think he's just guessing, maybe.
I don't know.
I think it's because she was a relatively
trial,
or maybe it's just that she was a relatively new special agent at the time, because this all happened.
And how does he not know that? How does he not know that her husband is dead?
He hasn't been keeping up with the news.
I guess he's in this. He's not allowed the news because he's in this
secure wing of a mental institution.
Yeah, well, he's actually it's an entire hospital for the criminally insane,
right?
Supposedly.
Okay, that makes sense.
But
no, I understand. It is weird that he wouldn't know that. Although maybe, and again, maybe this is a problem with the direction. Maybe he does know, and he was trying to feign that he doesn't know to see how she would react. But nobody plays it that way. But it is possible that this is a situation where, from a script standpoint, they did think of that, and that's what they were going for. But
nobody bothered to tell the director and the actors. Yes. Okay.
We've seen that happen before on the show. My beloved childproof lighters scene proves that is a thing that can happen on this show. That they can have a really good line in there, and nobody knows it's a really good line, so they don't give it the weight it deserves. Like that has happened. Yeah,
so I'm wondering who the showrunners. I will actually start looking this up.
Yeah, we are going.
Yeah, because there has to be a reason that it's so flat.
Yeah, so flat so frequently.
Yeah, that they miss things and you can't blame the script for it.
No, it's not a script problem, because the script, all of the elements are there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all of the elements to make these scenes work are there in the scripts. It's just the performances, it's the directing, it's how it's how the story being told. It's not the story being told. All right, so I'll just zip through this. So she goes to see him, and they're like, the cops immediately think he did it, because it's the exact same ammo, same look, same gas, everything. And so they have him put in lockdown. And then there's a second murder while he's in lockdown. And so the cops are like, oh, well, I guess he didn't do it. And she's like, well, I guess you can take me out of lockdown. You can take him out of lockdown. And this is the part where it gets slightly convoluted. So then he escapes. But they're like, but wait a minute. Did he escape, or did somebody kidnap him? Because he couldn't have been doing these murders, so it has to be someone who's
because it's her,
him and obsessed with him.
Profile.
Yeah,
her profile is what.
Yeah,
leads them to the kidnapping idea that this guy is
so obsessed with him. Yeah,
so obsessed that he's going to kidnap the real thing,
yes. And leading to this frankly bizarre scene where we find out that where they find out. And again, this is as crazy as any leap that has happened in any Criminal Minds episode. I give Criminal Minds a lot of crap for some of their leaps. This one is as crazy as anything that ever happened. So we find out that the killer, right, had a fishing cabin on a lake that he liked to spend time in when he wasn't murdering people. And he went so far as to decorate it with a flag on the front door.
That had the
number of the next person he was going to kill. So he had a 1 before he killed the first person. Then he put a 2 flag up. Then he put a 3. And so he killed 7 people. And so upon being captured, there was an 8 flag in front. And then her response is, if this killer is really obsessed with him, he's going to try and copycat him completely, including having his own cabin decorated exactly the same way. Right down to, like, the arrangement of the garden out front and the flag out front. Like, no! Come on!
And then lo and behold, she's right.
And then Gordon.
Psychic!
And then Gordon, their tech guy, who I think is named Gordon, I'm not gonna testify to that, is like, well, I can break into the Army's surveillance satellites to find an exact replica of the cabin in the area.
But he can sort of find the general area where it might be.
He doesn't find the general area where it might be.
This is what happened, though. This is what makes it so absurd. So he's saying, okay, well, where could be a place? So he kind of organizes a place. And then Bailey insists that he find the exact cabin. Right. And I'm just going,
how?
There are so many different cabins.
Up until this point,
you're assuming that you have a visual of the roof.
Well, but you got to remember, because of her profile, we know that the roof is going to be the exact same shape and color, and it's going to be the exact same arrangement of topiaries around it. So they're able to match it visually from the sky. I mean, the thing is, this is as crazy as not anything, but almost anything that Penelope Garcia ever did on the show. Like, this is,
and we at least
that ridiculous
that she's magic.
Exactly. Here,
she's Merlin.
We have no reason to believe this guy has magic hacking abilities, but apparently, I mean, next in the second episode, I think he's just like opening unsolicited spam and getting them infected with viruses.
Well, we'll get to the next episode.
We'll get to the next episode then, yeah.
But this was, I mean, it was just insane. And then she walks in and says, "Oh, it is just an exact replica, down to and then there was some little thing, and I missed. Her affect is so."
Yeah. I know.
Dumb blonde.
Ouch. Damn.
Well, I swear.
Cold. Yeah, no, but I there is a vacantness to her affect and a lack of reaction to anything that's a real problem for the show. It's frustrating.
Even when, we'll get to, when we get to the end of it, when we get to the Jack stuff.
Yeah, we'll get
even
to the Jack.
there. You have
no. We'll talk about the Jack stuff in a minute. Let's just get through this. So what happens is they have gone to see his father, and you're like, oh, okay. And again, continuing the show, okay, that's why he's like this. The father who decided when he was born that he was irredeemably evil, and that he had no capability to like feel regret or shame, and so he was an emotionless monster who had to be destroyed. I'm like, I think this guy might just be autistic, buddy. Like, I think you had an autistic son and you turned him into a monster.
Yep.
Like, that seems to be what happened here.
Yes, right? Well, that seems to be what happened.
That really seems to be what happened. Is like, you had an autistic son and then you turned him into a monster because
wait till you get to the next episode.
Well, we'll get there. Oh my God. This show is like, it's all the parents' fault. If there's one thing this show wants you to know, is that it's all the parents' fault.
They either have these monstrous fathers or these monstrous mothers. This week it's two monstrous fathers.
But it's all there. It's always there. All right, so they go to see the father, and then they go back to see the father when he breaks out, obviously, because the father's in danger, they assume. And they get there just after the father has died. And Sam goes to smell, because she has already figured out that the form of his, I forgot to mention, she has already figured out that the form that his murder has taken, that he is poisoning people with these tanks because his dad is on an oxygen tank for his emphysema. And so he is killing his father by proxy over and over again. with these tanks of poisonous gas.
Well, that came with the first 7.
No, so. I know. Yeah, absolutely. With the first 7, yes. So he's killing his father by proxy over and over again, and she figures out the significance of it. I mean, here's the thing. I feel like she, just narratively speaking, she shot the guy, she convicted the guy. There was no trial, but I feel like as part of her job, she would have, like, already met the guy's dad? It's weird that this is the first meeting. Or at least
know who the guy's dad was, because...
Yeah, he's rich and famous.
He's rich and famous.
Yeah, so it's kind of weird that this isn't information she already had. We want to see her figuring it out, but it's like, I feel like she should have already known this, though.
Yeah, because it's been years he's been in jail.
Yeah.
This is before she was married.
Yeah, she was engaged when she shot the guy, so this is a decade ago.
Yeah.
At least. Because the daughter's what, 7? 6? 6,
yeah,
7,
and
something
3
like that.
years. It's yes,
and she wasn't pregnant at the time, so we got to figure this is, if not a decade ago, nearly a decade ago. She caught
I would say it might even be more than a decade, because she was setting up her career and everything else. Yeah. And I'm going, okay, so here's the thing, though, that as part of being trained as a profiler, she should have been going and having interviews with him to find out about him, but we get no sense of that.
Not only no sense, we know for a fact she didn't, because she's just finding all of this stuff out.
Yeah, well, yeah, obviously she's just finding this stuff out, so she obviously didn't go.
But
that doesn't make any sense
based on everything we know about how profiling is supposed to work.
And the BAU is supposed to work.
Yep. Yeah, it's weird. It's a very sloppy episode.
It is. It was just like, say, what have I just watched?
So she gets there and the father's dead, and she's like, oh my God. And so the question is, did he poison the guy's oxygen?
Yeah.
And so, but the crazy thing she does is she walks up to the oxygen and sniffs it to see if it's poison gas.
Like,
what are you
doing?
Why on earth would you do this? And I mean, like, her partner even yells, wait, what are you doing? Like, tries to stop her from doing it. It's like, you can just have the lab test this. It's not vital this second to know whether he killed her dad or not. The guy's dead. Yeah. And none of us are in danger. The valve is closed. You are the only one creating a problem now by possibly inhaling a toxic gas. Oh my god! So yeah, it was a weird choice. And
exposing the rest of us too. Yeah. I mean, it is just a sloppy episode, and nothing can redeem this.
No, and so they go to the
sloppy to the end.
So they figure out obviously that he was behind everything. He got himself. He had the guy doing the kills. Then he broke out, and now he's going to kill the guy and his dad. Because that's what the guy wanted to do in the first place. Essentially, he talked to the guy for enough years that the guy became obsessed with and wanted to be him. But he didn't have the guts to kill his own dad, so he needed the guy to do it, the killer to do it for him. So there you go. But the question is, and this is the problem, the big problem with the plot, why go through all of these extra steps of having the dude copycat killing while he's in jail, bringing the FBI's attention to him? Because they're like, then you had him kill a second person to get you out of what do you call it? Solitary or maximum security or whatever. But I'm like, but he was only in maximum security because he had the guy kill the first guy. Like, and he honestly had no way to know that he would wind up in solitary, because realistically, only the prejudices of the sheriff made them put him in demanding he put in solitary, because no one actually thought he did that first crime except for the sheriff. But my question is, if the plan was to escape, why did you not just escape? Like,
yes, well,
why did you go out of your way to involve the FBI in this?
And the sheriff, who just wanted to take you off to jail.
Yeah. Like, why would you not just, if this guy could help you to escape at any time, which he could, why did you just not have this guy help you escape at any time.
I know. He wanted to see Sam again.
And had they in any way, you're right, but had they in any way sold that character relationship, so much of this episode would make sense. But they don't. They don't sell that relationship.
If she had gone and met with him, like sort of once every 6 months to do interviews with him, like Tara does, right?
And then,
that sort of thing.
Let's say
he becomes obsessed.
Here's something
and
would
then
have
she
been
just
great.
Stops
because of the Jack situation, and he needed her back in his life, and that's why he did all of this. Boom! The episode's great. You've written a great episode, and it shows how the Jack thing is echoing out and affecting other people than just you and your team. Like, if that story you just laid out was the plot of this episode, we would be celebrating this episode.
Exactly. No, I mean,
all the pieces are there. That's the crazy part. All of the pieces are there. He became obsessed with her when she was doing the interviews that you're supposed to do as part of the BAU, right? And then when she disappeared on him and she stopped doing the interviews, he had to come up with a plan to get to see her again because he'd become obsessed. Boom. And it's like, and then you can have the characters joke about how great. Now you've got another serial killer obsessed with you.
Yeah.
And you can put tie a little bow on it that way. It would have worked.
Yes, and it would have been a mirror. Yeah, as you say. I mean, and then but it's so who knows but yes, I mean, this could have been, well, maybe.
No, we wouldn't say it was the best episode of the show, but it would have been a very good episode of the show, and it would have been a much better episode.
It would have been a much better episode.
Yeah.
It would have given her character a little bit more depth because you could have allowed this guy. See, this guy might not have even been particularly obsessed. He was just used to her every 6 months.
Yeah,
having somebody from the outside.
He's autistic.
Yeah.
He's autistic and he likes his pattern. And she broke the pattern she had set up and it messes with him.
Yeah. And so, I mean, that's how
it's all there. Like all of the pieces of a much better version of this episode were sitting there waiting for them to do it. And they screwed it up. Oh, and Julian McMahon shot a teenager, just FYI. I know he was a drug dealer.
Was 18.
Oh, okay. It's fine if they're 18 then to shoot. Yeah, you're right. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I suggested it was bad to shoot an 18-year-old. My bad. No, they tried to say, well, he was a drug dealer, so it's fine that I shot him. But I was still horrified by it. I'm like,
Julian McMahon
was
haunted by it partly because he had a family. Now they could have pushed that a little bit better too, to say that, and he was partly doing all of this because he had, like, the implication is he's doing this because he has these brothers and sisters to feed and take care of.
Yeah.
But they don't actually
say that.
It. Yeah. They just imply it. And I'm just going, well, why not just say it?
Why not just say it? Why not just say that he feels guilty? Because under a capitalist system, this was the only way this kid had to try and look out for his family.
Yeah.
And that's
what makes Julian guilty.
Yeah, feels
That's
guilty.
What makes him feel guilty.
Yeah, because it's like post-Reagan's America, there is no industry left. And there is no ladder to success for people living in the inner city. And drug dealing is the only opportunity available. And I wound up with me killing him before he had a chance to have his life. I know I don't expect the show to get political. This isn't Wise Guy, but
Well, no, and you didn't even have to get
passing.
Yeah, you can mention it in passing. That's why he feels guilty.
Yeah, this kid is just trying to look out for his family.
It's not that he feels bad. He had to kill this kid.
But he feels bad about the situation that caused that to happen.
Yeah, and what is left in the aftermath.
Yeah, I think, there's room for that interpretation, and I think it's a better episode if they acknowledge that stuff.
Well, yeah, we could, it didn't take us long to create a better episode.
It really didn't.
Than the one we got.
Than the episode we actually watched. You're right. Like, there's a better episode easily makeable here. Like I said, all the pieces.
Yes.
Okay, so now let's...
The only thing good about this episode is the last 10 seconds.
Jesus, this episode goes... So, Angel is going back to teaching kids, right?
Yeah.
Going back to teaching kids art. She figures they've been in hiding long enough, and it's going to be safe for her to go and teach kids some art. And it's like, yeah, it makes perfect sense. She's chafing under being constantly under house arrest, so she wants to, feel productive again. totally understand her character. This all makes perfect sense. But when she leaves,
she goes off. She has the little fight with
Sam.
Sam about because Sam doesn't even remember she was going off to teach that night.
Yeah, exactly.
And Angel says, well, you do this all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, no, I remember, but I forgot.
Exactly. No, you check out of everything else in your life except your job. I mean, your daughter's not in half of these episodes.
And your daughter is at grandma's right now.
Yeah, exactly. Like, come on. You're checked out of a lot of your life. Which, by the way, doesn't really feel like the whole point of this safe house, right, was to keep them safe from Jack. I feel like she's not safe from Jack at her grandma's. They didn't bring the 5 FBI agents who were watching Sam all the time over to her grandma's, did they? But anyway.
No, here's the other thing.
Please.
Like, as we're going along, so Angel is on her way. She gets in a car. Jack starts to talk to her. But what I'm saying is that, okay, how come she doesn't have at least one FBI guy with her?
Well, I was going to save that criticism for the next episode.
Oh, well, yes, but it works in this episode.
It works episode too. Like, the thing is, it's worth having 5 fake fireman FBI agents downstairs making sure Jack doesn't get into their house, but she just gets to drive around wherever she wants completely unprotected.
Yeah, like, why doesn't she have...
You're not thinking this protection seriously at all.
No, so she gets in her car and Jack has hacked into her.
Yeah, into the
I don't know
system.
how he's done it, into her radio system and starts talking to her. And
I think he just installed a radio. He can remotely turn off the car. He can remotely lock the doors, right? And, she frantically calls Sam and, asks her to come and get her. And then she sees someone, and we know Jack is on his way. And we see someone, right, coming and driving up to her. And I just had this moment of, it's like...
But they had called the cops. But Sam must have called the cops.
Absolutely, she did. Yeah. And reported where she was to try and get the... And by the way, that's proof she's smarter than every member of the BAU, who never call the cops, who can definitely get there faster.
Faster, yes.
No, she does call the cops and tell them to get there faster, which was, again, smarter than every member of the BAU. But the point is, and this is what really gets me, so I'm watching this scene, right, and it's well done. Jack is creepy as ever, and we haven't talked enough about how I think they're doing a great job with how creepy the Jack actor is.
Oh, I think we've
mentioned it a little, but even in these small vocal performances, he's very creepy.
Yes,
like, he's doing an excellent job. So anyway, but the point is, so she's panicking, Jack's gonna get her, and again, plot-wise, so wait, you're in Atlanta, which is a great big city. Where on earth are you going to teach kids that you can be on a completely empty, lightless road with no other traffic?
Country road.
Like, doesn't it take you, like, I feel like Atlanta Metro's big enough that it's gonna take you just a half an hour just to drive out of it. I'm like, where on earth is this school where you're going to teach kids?
I know. In the middle of Virginia?
Yeah, apparently, yeah. You went out of state.
She's decided. Yeah, she's teaching she's going to teach these kids art in a rural school in Virginia.
By the way, in the middle of the night.
In the middle of the night. What? You guys don't think this through.
No, they did not. Like, there's no reason this scene can't be happening in broad daylight. They just wanted to make it scarier, except it makes so much less sense that this isn't happening in broad daylight.
We're trying to make it scary, but
it also takes away all the logic.
It doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't make any sense that she's out here in the middle of the night, in the middle of nowhere, if she's going to teach kids. But anyway.
Yes, and besides, it's after Sam has gotten back home from work, so it's got to be 6, 7 o'clock at night.
8 o'clock. Who the hell knows?
8
it's
o'clock,
Sam.
yeah.
This is my point. All right, so anyway, she gets the call, but luckily someone comes up and it's not Jack, and she gets rescued by a lady trucker.
It's a female cop.
It's a lady trucker.
Oh, a lady trucker.
Not a cop, a lady trucker.
Right.
Yeah, lady trucker comes and picks her up and
knocks on her window,
says, "Are you okay?
How are you?"
There's something wrong with
your
car.
No.
She's freaking out, quite understandably.
Yeah.
Angel has every right to be freaking out.
Oh,
and then we fast forward to the end of the episode, and we see the same lady trucker stop to pick up a hitchhiker.
Yeah.
And it's Jack, who is...
And he says, didn't your mother ever tell you not to pick up hitchhikers?
And he is very pissed that, and this is, again, the lengths he's going to for his planning. He is extremely pissed that someone screwed up his plans for Angel, and he's going to take it out on her. So he found out who she was, where she was going, and intercepted her next route. And this is where I'm going to make a prediction. It's the same thing. Jack has to be a cop. He has to be a cop. Because the stuff he can do, I'm going to the Mentalist, and honestly, it feels more and more like so much of the Mentalist was patterned after this. I don't expect Jack to have a cult, but I expect Jack to be a cop. Just given the kind of stuff he can accomplish, and like the range of surveillance he has, and the fact that he's a stalker, all makes it really feel like Jack is a cop.
And more to the point, the next episode, he may actually be in the FBI.
I was about to get there.
Yes. After we watch the next episode, you're going, okay, so he's got to be in the FBI. Has nobody figured this one out yet?
Apparently not. But he might be an FBI agent. I think he's definitely a cop. But I don't know. Just
of one sort or another.
Of one sort or another. But he has access. He is a character who has access, easy access, i.e. not having to hack in all the time, to law enforcement databases. Mm-hmm. Because, spoiler alert, all cops stalk people with their law enforcement databases. Like, it is a cliche in the surveillance community that the first thing any cop, does the minute they get access to a database is start stalking their ex-wife. That's just a fact. It's something all cops do, to the point where it is a cliche in the surveillance industry. But it's like, they will be told, we're specifically making this system to track everything you do, so don't start stalking your ex, girlfriends on it. And then they do it anyway, because
or they check out their daughter's boyfriends.
Yeah. Oh no, but specifically they stalk their exes. Yes. Like, if you give a cop a machine to stalk somebody, that cop is going to stalk their ex-spouse. That's just what cops do. Because, spoiler alert, you didn't become a cop because you hated controlling people. Spoiler alert. All right. So enough insulting cops. Let's move on to the next episode, which also... Oh,
well, we did miss the fact that in this episode, then Angel just says, I've got to go.
Yeah, quite understandably.
She says, I've got to go. I'm living your life. I need to go. Yeah. And I mean, and it's like, oh, well, okay.
And it's, as we keep pointing out, not a ton of reaction.
No, it's like she couldn't care less.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to miss you so much.
I know.
But you don't believe it.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, now I was calling her Allie. Now I said, now, and then Sam. It's just, now Sam, you can just do everything because it's clear because Angel said, and don't worry, Sam says, well, should I tell Chloe? And she says, no, I would never leave Chloe without telling her that I was going.
Yeah.
So I will stop by the grandmother's and talk to her.
Let her know. Yeah.
So now Sam is
off the hook for everything.
Off the hook for everything. And what she really wants to do, which is just be completely obsessed with her job.
Yep.
And she's always wanted to be completely obsessed with her job, I suspect.
Yeah, and again, think of
maybe
all of the work.
Maybe she has autism herself.
All of the work they did to get us to that point with Hotch and make us understand what was wrong with him, right? To turn him like that. Whereas her, I guess we just accept that she's a bad parent and friend. Maybe they'll do the work later. Who knows?
Well, I don't know, because the next episode...
Yeah.
This episode we're now moving into. I just wanted to put that one in.
No, it's worth mentioning, and I'm sorry I didn't mention it before moving.
Yeah, and then, but that end.
Yeah.
Didn't your mother ever?
I know. Great ending. Great.
And then it's over, right?
That's the end of the episode. It's the last thing that happens.
Oh, and you just go, oh no. And of course, the next episode, you should have followed up on it.
That would have been nice, but no.
It's the same thing with, there's all these things they should be following up in the next episode.
Yeah.
And they don't.
No, because it's not about the hunt for Jack. Jack's in every episode, but it's not about the hunt for them, even though with all this crap he's doing, you really feel like it should be about the hunt for him.
And you would think somebody, and
would notice that this woman is missing and just had an encounter with a jack of all trades related situation.
Yeah, and before he says, well, I'm going to see my friend Angel, and she says, oh, isn't that a coincidence?
I just picked up someone named Angel.
And drove her home. Yeah.
Yep.
And then
so creepy.
Yeah, it was creepy.
He's doing great. This guy's crushing it. Like he's never been on camera without, ridiculous cowboy makeup on, and he's crushing it every week.
That's the only time he was on camera.
The only time we've ever actually seen him. It's all
we see his hands,
back of his head, lots of the back of his head. But we haven't seen
other stuff, but no.
And lots of voice work.
And the voice work is
the only time we've seen him, he's been under a huge amount of makeup. So whoever this actor is, I don't even watch the opening credits, so I'm not looking him up. But he's crushing it. Like their Jack is just crushing it. All right, so second episode, again, really, it's an interesting thing because
it's an interesting plot.
It's an interesting premise. It really is,
and it falls flat. The whole episode falls flat, and it's a fascinating.
Better killer, acting wise, better killer this week. I like this guy a lot more.
Yeah, of course. When you finally get to him.
I mean, he's only in one scene at the end of the episode, but he's really good.
I mean, he's good. He's up there with Jack.
Yeah, exactly.
As
a threatening, creepy presence.
Yeah.
Yeah, he really is. I liked him a lot. But anyway, so this woman gets killed.
There's little to like in this episode.
This woman is following people down at the dock, and she finds a dead body, and then she gets murdered. Right? Yeah. And so we find out that this is an FBI agent who was surveilling somebody. Right? And
I don't know if she was an FBI agent.
She is an FBI. She is an FBI.
I thought
she is an FBI agent.
Isn't the cop that comes in a local cop?
No. She's an FBI agent working on she's an FBI agent tailing this mobster. I'm pretty sure it doesn't matter whether she is or not. I'm pretty sure
I'm not sure that she was tailing because
she's watching the deal at the docks.
She is working with the cop who comes in and is going to catch this mobster and get it. And it's personal. And it just struck me that it was it was a local cop versus the FBI situation.
Yeah. And I think she was the FBI agent and he was the local cop working on this thing. It's not because hey, you know what? Hey, it doesn't matter who she worked for. That's not part of the plot. It's not a part of the plot.
I don't care. It just
you can figure it out later. My point is, you and I disagree on this. Our conversation isn't going to find the answer, and it's not relevant to the plot. So let's keep going.
Go back and look at it.
That's my point. And you can go watch the episode later and tell me if you were right. And I'll admit you were right on the next episode. But it's not relevant to the conversation we're having right now. Because we're not going to find out now.
But nothing else.
No, it is. It's good. And I'll tell you why. So he stabs them in the heart. He chokes people out. He poses the bodies. And then he stabs them in the heart with a chisel. Yeah. And Sam looks at the frame, at this image, right, of the two people with bags over their heads lying next to one another. And it looks familiar to her. But we don't know why. So then in another city nearby, don't remember where the second city was. It's not important. It's another episode where they fly there and fly home a lot. There's a second murder. And this one, I'm pretty proud of myself because I had no idea. Like the Magritte painting, I completely didn't get the reference. But the second you see the guy in the tub with the thing wrapped around his head, I'm like, Death of Marat, done. All right, I know exactly what's going on here. He's recreating paintings with dead bodies. I was very proud of myself for recognizing that tub instantly. All right. My college career wasn't entirely wasted. I can identify the death of Marat.
My art course wasn't.
Yes, I can identify the picture of the death of Marat. The very famous painting about the assassination of a key figure during the French Revolution.
Yeah.
So there you go. And hey, one of the kept in the same asylum as the Marquis de Sade. He was murdered in an asylum, and that is the plot. And that is the plot of the play Marat Sade, which is a very famous, a very good play. If you want, if you're interested in just the most unpleasant stuff you can read.
Oh, it's
and you're and you listen to us talk about Profiler, so you probably are. It's a rough one. It's a rough one. All right. So anyway, so she identifies these as being paintings, famous paintings. All right. And the killer must be obsessed with paintings, or with these paintings. And they look at the 3 cities where these paintings, these killings,
where these murders have
happened, and all of them, when the murders happened, a touring art show that was being sponsored by a local university, right, was present at the time. And so Sam goes to talk to the people at the university, right, who worked on the case, right, who worked on this, not case, on the people in the university who put together this thing. And then we have a couple of fun scenes with the show just making fun of artists. You know? When they talk to the guy whose art is taking apart mechanical things, and they look at the artist, the art is, you know, instead of paint, it's like the visuals of dance, and the show is a very, you know, clearly skeptical eye towards modern art, to say the least. The show is unimpressed.
I mean, the way the one of the art curators, you know, is talking about a couple of things and saying, yes, but it's so intense.
I know, like just
looks at pictures, right?
And thinks that they're it's all very well staged, and is so impressed by the killer as an artist. Yeah. Yes.
Performance art. It is perfect performance art. Anyway, so.
And by the way, she is 100% right. That is like, weirdly, the art professor has 100% profiled exactly what is going on here.
Yeah, she has. And what happens is, so Sam is at this gallery, and then she sees one picture, because it's all the students, right, who've been in this one art class. And it's their final show at the end of their 3 years or 4 years taking a visual arts degree.
Yeah. And these had all participated in the touring show.
And so there's this one
photograph that is once again
photograph
of it's a black and white photograph of another famous painting, right? A recreation of a famous painting. And she's like, this is the exact framing of all of the other murders by this guy. And since his photography is using dead bodies to recreate famous paintings, this is probably a victim we don't know about. And he's showing it off to us, like showing it off as part of his, you know, weird psychosis. And again, she's dead right.
And the thing is, of course, that they assume, because this is a student gallery, that this was done by a student who didn't put their name on it.
Exactly. And so
Sam accepts that.
Yes, Sam accepts that right away.
And wants all the names of the students and everything else. And
but more importantly,
the professors.
She goes to see she gets the list of the students, but more importantly, the photography professor who all of these students took his class. And so she goes to see the photography professor, assuming that he'll be able to say which of your students is crazy. Which is, you know, a reasonable thing to do. So she goes to see the photography professor, and just hanging on the wall is a giant print of the dead bodies from the start of the episode.
Wait a sec. It's not hanging in his office, because
on the wall, not his office, in his home
But then he says, do you want to come and see my studio?
Exactly, yeah. I'm talking about the studio, but yes. He says, do you want to come and see my studio?
You didn't say that.
I didn't say that. I skipped the unimportant scene that gets us to the studio.
Yes, I know, but then you have to say it's the studio, because our audience it's not like we're recommending watching the show.
But yes, she goes to see him and then they go to his studio and that's where it is.
And that's where this huge painting is.
Not a painting, just a print.
The huge print, but it's been blown up and it's hanging on the wall.
And she's like, oh, this is obviously the killer. And he's got his gun, so he's ready to go. And now we get his backstory. And his backstory is wonderful. So as a child, he was a painting prodigy, right? And so his father took him to see this show and essentially told him, you're never going to be as good as the people in this show. And he was so racked with guilt. Well, not guilt, like with the pressure to be great, that he mangled his own hand and pretended it was an accident so he could get away with not painting anymore, because then he could offer an explanation for why he would never be as great as his father wanted. Now, we don't know what the next stressor is. Almost certainly the death of his father. Probably. I mean, they don't cover it, but that's definitely what happened, right? Yeah. And so he wants to prove to his now deceased father what he never could, that he is that creative an artist, by recreating the art show his father took him to as a child, except using corpses and photographs to recreate all of the paintings that were at that show.
Yes, and it's interesting because we skipped over. They did find that show.
Oh yeah, but that happens. He explains the show to her before the scene where we see the tech guy, right, find one show where all of the paintings that have been done in the picture were at. I think they're sort of probably happening at the same time. They are, but I'm talking about the order
because
of scenes.
That's why,
because we have to have him
Gordon
explain.
Finds it.
Yeah, we have to have the killer explain the importance of the scene, or the audience will have no idea what Gordon is talking about.
Yeah.
And then so he says, right, there's one painting left, and that is Joan of Arc being burned at the stake. And so his next victim has to be a woman. And of course, Bailey's like, oh my God, Sam's in danger. Raising the question that we were just raising. Why is Sam going anywhere alone?
Yes, she's supposed to have a bodyguard with her at all times because of Jack.
Not only just as an FBI agent should she have a partner. Like, should she not be going off alone? Remember Bailey freaking out in the pilot that she went to a parking garage alone for 5 minutes? Like, now, not only does she not have a partner she's working with, she doesn't have one of these bodyguards.
Yep.
Like, why is this character? They've forgotten the premise of their own show, even though last week, Angel almost got killed.
Yeah.
Because she was alone. No,
and somebody else got killed because
they interfered
she helped
with
Angel.
Yeah, exactly. With Jack's plan. So, I know. It's insane that she's alone for this scene.
Of course, it needs it so that he can capture her and tie her to the stake and everything else.
But they've written themselves into a corner because narratively, this character, they need her to have, these encounters, right? They need her to have these scary encounters where she's alone with a serial killer. Like, the plot-wise, they need that to happen because that's what people are expecting to see out of their shows. But narratively, that can't happen because she's supposed to be being guarded all the time. So it's like every time one of these things happens, it's a giant plot hole.
Not only that, then it gets worse because, of course, the picture is of Joan of Arc being burned at the stake. So this guy is going to have to set his studio on fire.
Yeah.
To get
the picture he wants. Yeah.
Right? And his studio is full still of his art stuff. Like, he's got tubes of oil paint. He's got all this stuff, even though he doesn't do it. And I'm sitting there going, okay, you didn't think this one through? You couldn't have found another picture?
Honestly, no, but he can't.
Could you take him outside?
No, he can't pick a different picture because
this picture is in the thing.
Yeah,
but then you have to take her outside.
Well, no, but at the same time, I actually buy this from the character. I think this character knows he's caught. This is his only opportunity.
And this is his last.
Yeah, it's the last picture. But B, the FBI has caught him. she's not the only FBI agent. People know where she went. He's going to get caught. He knows he's going to get caught after this. So this is his only opportunity to take the photo that will complete his work.
If he had not taken her down into his studio. But there's nobody, because if he takes the picture and the place burns up, his photograph is going to be burned up too.
No, that doesn't matter. For him, it's all about the psychology. He's satisfying his own need to do this. Like, he's satisfying his own need to do this. He wasn't putting his paint, like, except for that one photo, which, you know, was not obviously of a corpse, he's not putting the rest of these on display. Like, this is all about satisfying his own twisted psychological needs. Right? And I think he is compelled to take the photo. And if he gets the photo, he can die happy. And honestly, I believe, and again, this is me, I'm fixing the episode here, but I believe that, like, after taking the photo, he would have been fine dying in the burning, right? Dying in the burning studio. As long as he
and
got
that
the
would have
photo.
been a more effective end.
Yeah, that would have been a more effective end.
And Bailey coming
just
in
comes
and
in and
saving
shooting
her.
I know, yeah.
Yeah.
Just did Bailey...
And saves her from the flames, and then the whole studio goes up and the guy is dead in it.
Yeah, I think that would have been a stronger ending.
And then you see Allie, then Sam could have explained about how, no, he didn't want to show these pictures. He just needed to take these pictures.
He needed to take the pictures. He didn't need to show them. And the key part is, you could have mentioned in passing, we could have found out about the death of his father to get to tie a bow on that. And you would have had a great scene, as you say, of Bailey getting into a fist fight with him, right? And knocking him down, and then untying Sam, and then Sam and him run out, and the guy's on the other side of the room, and he clearly doesn't mind burning to death. Like, that's the ending this episode needed.
There you go.
Yeah. And then, like I said, you need a tag where we explain that his father has died, and that is what set all of this off. So
because they don't. It's the one thing. I mean, we laugh about Criminal Minds and triggers.
I know. But you really needed a trigger for this one. Then again,
you needed a trigger for this
week. Yeah. It's such a specific motive, and it's such a specific MO that you really needed a trigger to explain why he's doing this now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, But yeah, like, there again, 2 episodes in a row, these were easy fixes. These could have both been really solid episodes that were instead sloppier than they needed to be. This one has more solid bones than the other one, I would say.
Yes.
It does. And I think my being charmed by it is mostly down to what a good performance the killer puts in his 2 scenes.
Yeah, and then of course, so let's get to the Jack half of the show. Well, not just the Jack. No, let's get to the Chloe part of the show.
Yes, they are, where she is not making any time for her daughter, and her daughter is pissed about it.
Yes, and she comes home to play some game
Candyland
with her daughter, and her daughter says, "Well, you're not here."
I know.
Yes, I am. Yeah. I'm playing. No, you're not.
Even
you
when
want
to
be someplace else, it's okay. I mean, this is a daughter who has it's akin to having an alcoholic mother.
Yeah. Her mother has an addiction.
Her mother has an addiction to her work.
Yeah.
And it's an addiction. It's not, oh, I get busy. No. Right. It's worse in some ways than Hotch.
Oh yeah. I think that's true.
And, and she doesn't even recognize it. And so we have 2 scenes with Chloe. No, and then she says, okay, then I'm going to take you to a movie in 2 nights.
Yeah.
And then, of course, she misses the movie.
Yeah.
As well, right?
But they do get to go to the zoo. They do get to go to the zoo.
Yes, at the end.
But yeah, she also misses the movie. Yeah. Because she's just breaking promises to her daughter nonstop.
All the time. And she's always lying to her daughter. But I want my daughter to have a normal child. Excuse me, her father was killed by your stalker.
Yep. And now your entire life. I know. Well, she saw the stalker. She didn't see the murder. She saw the stalker.
No, she saw it, but that's it.
It's close enough. But yes, you're right. It is just every bit as traumatic. Like, this is central to the defining thing in her life, and you want to pretend it's not happening.
Yeah, and you're living in a secure environment, a safe house, very secure environment.
She's got no freedom. She can't have friends. She can't go to school normally. Like she is like being kept away from all regular experiences, and all she has is
Angel.
Yeah, she would have nothing, and now she doesn't have Angel. Like
no,
all she's got now is her mother.
Angel has come back.
Oh, you're right.
Angel came back.
Yeah, Angel did come back.
So now she's just got Angel, but Angel is taking care of her.
Yeah.
And that's basically it. And Angel, so when she's at school is when Angel does her artwork.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm just going, this is some kind of a bizarre relationship. I mean, I would have been happy if they had just put them in a lesbian relationship, and then everything would have made a lot more sense.
Yeah.
In terms of Chloe at least having another
mother there.
Mother.
Yeah.
What she's got is her mother's best friend who comes and goes, and had obviously gone to her grandmother's and told her she was leaving. Yep. And then she came back. So it's like an unstable environment.
An incredibly unstable environment. She can't function.
And her mother is just like, I don't know whether she goes to school or not, but she has to be taken by guards to school and picked up. So she can't go off to her friends after school. Exactly. And she can't bring her friends home after school, and all of this,
it leaves her in a place where it's like, she is being set up to just be a disaster. Yep.
And or one day she's just going to blow it all and rebel, and that's it.
Oh yeah.
Except I'm assuming they're going to catch Sam. Jack at some point, but
oh yeah.
Never mind. Anyway, and then we get to the other plot, the Jack plot.
Yeah, which is
during this whole friggin' episode, they're having trouble with their internet.
Yeah.
They have downloaded, and they explain about spam. Remember, this is where I was going to say, okay, so this is the late 90s.
People didn't know enough about spam yet, and how there could be Trojan horses in it.
Yes. And so, and the internet doesn't function. Remember, we don't have much in the way of browsers at this point. So you can see it all, and it's functioning, and it comes on and off. But what I don't understand is why it is impacting on the telephones, because they weren't doing telephone stuff through.
It is weird that the telephones are being routed through their computers.
Yeah, and that doesn't make much sense because they don't have at that point
the ability to do that. Yeah.
The ability to do that
is literally it's a narrative hook to add a little extra drama. It's writers' understanding of the internet back in the 90s. The writers are like, the internet's in everything, right? And the answer is no, it's actually in very little. It's actually very little.
It's very little. But anyway, the computers are going off. Well, why don't you just unplug the computers?
Well, they do need to run things.
Well, yes, I know, but they could.
They are
the guy
very
is trying to fix it. Then they're all
the tech people come in to fix it. Yeah,
the tech people come in to fix it. It's fine for a while, and then whatever Jack has put on, and it's possible even then to have put something that would keep reoccurring, that would be hidden.
Yeah,
and could this is some weird stuff. Like I keep talking about this. That one that I did, that my computer, for whatever reason, had some kind of a glitch in it.
Yeah.
And always it just wouldn't play this one program. And that was all there was to it. No matter what you did to the computer itself,
you couldn't.
No matter whether you completely cleaned it. And then, as I said, it turned out that it didn't work on about 30% of the computers it was put on. It was a teaching program, right? But nobody would believe it because it worked on everybody else's computer but mine.
That's so frustrating.
Yeah, it was frustrating. But anyway, so this is all during this period of time when it's still very early in the structure.
It's all new.
And the coding is still early. You're barely getting into. It's not easy coding.
Nope.
Not even back then. You still had all of these lines of code you had to go through. So I understand the frustration that Gordon is feeling because they fix it. They apparently fix it. They fix the code and stuff, and everything is fine for a while. And then wham!
Jack reveals that, it
there's
was
some
me the
other
whole time.
piece.
Yeah.
Well, so this goes on during the whole episode. So they can't talk to one another because it keeps interfering with the phone lines. And blah, 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 blah. I guess maybe they're trying to say
They
yes,
open
right
up,
at the end.
they get a big email, and it shows that Jack has been stalking everybody. And he's
But
got
why
photographs
they
of everyone.
opened that damn thing?
I know, they've just had a whole conversation about spam. Why are you opening this email, guys?
Yeah, and the guy
put it in a secure system before you do nonsense like that. No, he just opens it in front of everybody. And not only has Jack been stalking everybody, but he's hijacked the cameras inside the Violent Crimes Task Force headquarters. So we can literally see them at work. And her home, yeah. But
how the hell they got into the home is beyond me.
Again, well, they're all on interlinked computers. He just, the surveillance cameras in the home link back to the Violent Crimes Task Force so they can keep tabs on her and make sure she's safe. But once he got into the Violent Crimes Task Force computers, he also had access to the cameras in her home because they have access to the cameras in her home. That makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, he didn't have to go into the house because he wasn't planting new cameras. He was just using their cameras.
Okay. That just tells me that they really did not think through security enough.
No, they did not. Well, again, they're letting her go off on her own all the time. They're letting Angel go off on their own all the time. This is not a well thought out security environment.
It's like nobody's taking Jack seriously. No wonder he's pissed.
Yeah, people just aren't taking him seriously. You're absolutely right.
I don't know what he's going to have to do to get their attention to finally.
He's probably going to have to. Honestly, probably going to have to murder Angel. If you want him to take him seriously. I don't know that that's what's going to happen, but I feel like that might be what has to happen. Chloe? Kidnap Chloe, murder Angel, something. Just something on that level before they start taking this guy seriously. But that is the thing that separates this from so many other shows like this, which is Jack every week. Yeah. He is a member of the cast. And that is crazy. And structurally, this is something we're going to talk about going forward. It creates this weird situation where, as you say, because they feel the need to check up on Jack every week and give Jack something to do every week, it does make it seem like, why do they have any priorities other than catching Jack? Right? And I think you're right. That is what makes it feel weird. I think in The Mentalist, and again, I'm going to compare the show to The Mentalist a lot because it is essentially the same show, but The Mentalist has a much more compelling lead character. Has one of the most compelling lead characters, I would argue. I think Patrick Jane is just one of the best TV detectives we've ever had. Simon Baker
does a wonderful
It's a masterpiece performance. Every episode, he's fantastic. But anyway, the point I'm getting at is, the whole thing is there's no evidence. This guy is able to disappear and have no evidence, and you never hear from him. Ergo, we don't expect them to only be working on the Red John case, because most of the time, there is no movement on the Red John case.
Yeah.
But the problem here is, every week, Jack is doing something major to draw attention to himself. Every week, there is new evidence to track down. Okay, well, he bugged. Okay, so let's take apart Angel's car to find out how he bugged it. Let's see where he got all the stuff. There is a huge chain of new evidence for this guy every single week. When he hacks into the system, when he kills that trucker. Okay, well, the trucker's disappeared. Let's investigate her disappearance. And that's the problem. They're treating it like it's The Mentalist and there's no possible way to catch this guy. But at the same time, every single week, they're not actually, in The Mentalist, there was nothing they could do to find Red John. Because he wasn't doing stuff most of the time, and he didn't leave a lot of evidence. Here, he's constantly doing new things. Why are you moving on to a new case when you've got an active serial killer running around killing people and leaving evidence for you?
No, they're treating him like he's a stalker and he hasn't got past the sending messages phase.
Yeah, he's not a serious threat. And you're right. That is the biggest problem. And it's locked in the same way that it's the same origin of problem where the show is not treating, right? It's the exact same issue as her being able to walk off on her own places. Because you're right. At its core, the show refuses to treat Jack like the threat he is.
Yeah.
The characters might believe it, the characters might say he's this threat, but the show doesn't act like he's this threat. And that's a real problem, like, with the show.
Yeah, you know, and I'm comparing it now to the new Criminal Minds.
Yeah.
Right? Where they did manage every now and then to have, in that first season, they had Killers of the Week.
Yeah, but most of the Killers of the Week were linked to
Sicarius.
Yeah. And in the second season, they had an overarching plot that they just chased down.
Yeah. That is linked to Sicarius.
That is linked to Sicarius. Not as directly as the first season, though.
No.
Like, he was very much... Damien was very much doing his own thing. He was just using Sicarius as evidence.
Yeah. So, you know, I mean, it's this show is, it doesn't have a strong enough lead character, and then
they have not thought through the stakes. What I
would say is they haven't committed to the serial
well, that's what I'm saying about the stakes.
Yeah, the stakes. Yeah,
it's the stakes. They're not committed to it. Yeah, and I would argue that's the show's biggest problem. Well, no, the biggest problem is Sam. The biggest problem is Sam, because again, you got a Simon Baker in here selling this stuff as hard as anyone's ever sold anything. You could paper over a lot of these issues, but the biggest problem is the lead. The second biggest problem is, you're right, they cannot commit to the realism of the stakes. They just can't.
And they never thought to do it, because in The Mentalist, even if they've got all this other stuff and all the other cops can't do anything, Patrick Jane is always doing something. And he's trying to track down his Red John.
No matter what,
but that's always in the background until Red John does something again.
Yeah.
It's always sort of in the background, and you know it's going on in the background for him, but nobody else is paying attention to it.
Because they've all got their own cases. Yeah, it all works.
Yeah. And then he helps them with their cases.
Yeah.
So it tracks. Here, it doesn't track. This guy is in their face every week saying, look at me.
And they don't do anything about it.
He might have killed her boyfriend.
Yeah. He would have if they hadn't shown up. He would have killed her boyfriend if they hadn't shown up. Right?
Yeah.
He would have killed Angel.
Poor A. Martinez.
Poor A. Martinez would have been killed if they hadn't shown up in time. Angel, right, would have been killed if that trucker hadn't stopped by. Like, he is an active threat, and the show is not acting like it.
Yeah, and that's a big problem.
Big problem. And again, it's an experimental structure. I mean, imagine a world where, like, on The Fugitive, the one-armed man was in every episode. That's what this show is. And they don't understand that A Fugitive, where the one-armed man is in every episode, is a very different show than The Fugitive. Whereas here, right, they don't understand that it has to be a very different show than, The Pretender.
Yeah.
They're acting like it's as simple a show as The Pretender. But no, it needs to be a very different show than The Pretender if Jack's going to be on it every week. You have to make it a different show. And maybe the mistake was having Jack on every week. I don't know. I'm loving what Jack does every week, but I worry that it's crippling the show.
Well, the thing is, what's happening is because the writer, the showrunner, whatever, whoever is putting this is in control of this show, has not thought about it. Because basically what Sicarius is a fix for this show.
Yes, I think that's accurate.
Surprisingly, I don't think that they thought about it. Maybe somebody somewhere.
I can guess. I mean, we can ask Breen, but I'm pretty sure that nobody working on the show Criminal Minds Evolution was like, you know what show I'd like to reference? Profile. No, I don't think that happened.
No, I don't think so either.
But it is a better version of this. It is a better version of this.
And that's the funny thing. It's not like you talk about how they're fixing, they attempted to do it.
Yeah.
At least 2-3 times.
Yeah.
2-3 times.
The cult of serial killers. Yeah.
Yeah. They tried to do it. They could not do it. So they finally had enough time to crack it and how it would work.
Mm-hmm.
And as you remember, when they were talking about season 2, they had all of this time, and they went into the writing room and they realized it wasn't going to work.
Yeah.
And so they had to take a lot of information from, or a lot of the ideas, and then they had to scrap a whole bunch of and reshape it completely.
Mm-hmm.
So that was, and Breen
you kind of feel
very
watching
clear
this.
about that.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
That they were, in fact, as he said, the rare show to be helped by the strike, because it allowed them to focus in on what was working and fix what wasn't. And that's why that season was so good.
Yes, and our if they hadn't fixed it, we would have been able to rip that thing apart like hell if they hadn't fixed it.
But they did.
But because what we're doing is
that's what we're doing right now to media. I keep saying medium, Jesus Christ, profiler.
Profiler.
Yeah. Because you're right. It is the kind of what they're doing with Sicarius.
Yes, it's the indigenous American Indians.
I have no idea.
Entered into your mind and are going with my
my God. Psychic. Maybe.
No, but the problem is that's why medium keeps coming up.
Yes, no, it is why.
But here, right? No, the problem is that they're treating this guy like most people have treated stalkers.
Yeah.
And they're treating him like an annoyance.
He is the most, devilish and active serial killer ever.
Yeah.
And they're treating him like a minor annoyance.
Yeah.
Like, why is there not a jack of all trades only task force like he's the friggin' Zodiac killer? Who he has way more victims than.
Yeah, or like Sicarius.
Yeah, like Sicarius.
Yeah.
Exact point. All right, so we're going to see how this develops next week.
Yep.
We are, as always, doing no research to see how they handle this.
No. And why they're doing this, we're just going to leave it to the end of the first season, at least.
Oh, yeah. But what frustrates me, and I think this is what's frustrating both of us, is like, at its core, right, it's a show about something incredibly dangerous and scary and serious that is not acting like it's about what it's about.
Yeah.
And that's at its core. Because again, if Jack weren't in every episode, we wouldn't be having this conversation. It would be The Mentalist, and it would be fine, right? Mm-hmm. They would be every 8 episodes, they check in with Jack, and we have a Jack episode most of the time to do that. But because he is so present, and again, because he's so present, it's giving the show a frisson I wasn't expecting. Like just him being all over the show. It's an energy that this kind of show normally doesn't have. Like you've got this crazed killer who could literally do anything at any point. So it keeps you in this state of anxiousness every single episode. And the problem is
the cast doesn't.
The cast doesn't act like it. The characters
and the task force. The task force doesn't seem to think he's a serious problem.
I know. We in the audience are like, at any moment he could kill you guys. And they sure as hell don't seem to care. It's the weirdest show as a result. Yeah. All right. So that has been this episode of Profiling Criminal Minds with the, let's face it, more and more intriguing by the hour show Profiling. We're going to be back next week with more episodes, but until then, if you have any questions, if you have any comments, if there's any profiling related fiction you'd like us to check out, drop us a line at profilingcriminalminds@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. If you were listening on an app or podcatcher, please remember to rate, review, and subscribe to the show. That's how people find out about it. We're going to see you back here next week, but until then, I'll say that's right. Au revoir.
And have a good week.